The Galactic Council's flagship, Eternal Dominion, emerged from hyperspace near Saturn, its massive form eclipsing the ringed planet in a display of technological might intended to inspire fear. For over 12,000 cycles, the Council had used such demonstrations to subjugate countless civilizations across 3 galactic arms. Their strategy was refined, predictable, and, until now, unfailingly effective. High Senator Forlag stood on the command deck, his 4 arms folded in satisfaction as he gazed at the primitive blue-green planet displayed on the main view screen. His scales shimmered with anticipation as he prepared to add yet another species to the Council's ever-expanding empire. "Commence the ultimatum protocol," he ordered, his dual-tone voice reverberating through the chamber. "Let these humans understand the futility of resistance." The communications officer, a slender Flexian with translucent skin, manipulated the crystalline interface. Broadcasting on all frequencies, "High Senator, the message will penetrate even their most primitive reception devices." Throughout Earth and its colonies on Mars and various space stations, screens flickered and radio transmissions were interrupted. The message was simultaneously translated into every human language, appearing on billions of devices worldwide. "Attention inhabitants of Solar System Designation Sol 3. The Galactic Council claims dominion over your star system. You will submit to Council authority, provide tribute in resources and knowledge, and accept membership as a protectorate state. You have 1 lunar cycle to comply. Failure will result in planetary reconfiguration. Resistance is historically unsuccessful." An image of an entire planet being transformed into a molten sphere accompanied the message, followed by coordinates for Earth representatives to deliver their formal surrender. Inside the Pentagon's Special Operations Center, the message had been routed to Lieutenant Colonel Maria Reyes, who happened to be the officer on duty in the recently established Extraterrestrial Communications Department, a 3-person team created mainly for bureaucratic completeness rather than out of any expectation of actual contact. "Well, this is different," she muttered, taking another sip of coffee as she forwarded the message up the chain of command with a priority rating of unusual but unverified. Her accompanying note read, "Possible advanced hoax, sophisticated deep fake, or legitimate contact. Request verification protocol and guidance." The message reached General Thomas Harrison just as he was entering an emergency meeting about escalating tensions in the South China Sea. He glanced at his tablet, raised an eyebrow, and handed it to his aide. "Have intelligence run analytics on this. Looks like those college students in Berkeley are getting creative again with their protest stunts." The aide nodded and added it to his task list, prioritizing it below the trade negotiation briefs and the climate summit preparations. At NASA, the situation was somewhat different. Dr. Eliza Washington, head of the Exobiology Division, stared at the massive ship now visible through their advanced telescopes. "It's definitely there," she confirmed during an emergency video conference. "And it's like nothing we've ever seen before." The NASA administrator appeared concerned but measured. "Dr. Washington, what's your assessment of the threat level?" "Difficult to determine without more data," she replied. "The ship appears to be in a passive orbit. No detectable weapons systems have been activated, though their energy signatures are unusual. I'd recommend continued observation while we gather more information." "Thank you, Dr. Washington. Keep me updated," the administrator said before turning to another screen. "Now about the Mars habitat expansion timeline." Meanwhile, across Earth, the initial shock of the message quickly dissipated into something the Galactic Council had never encountered before, casual indifference mixed with internet humor. In New York, Times Square briefly displayed the alien message, causing a momentary pause in pedestrian traffic before life resumed. A street vendor quickly began selling hastily printed "I survived the alien ultimatum" t-shirts. In London, pub patrons watched the broadcast interrupt a crucial football match, leading to a chorus of boos and a flood of complaints to the broadcasting company about their poorly timed marketing stunt. On social media platforms, the message went viral, but not in the way the Galactic Council would have expected. Within hours, Memes featuring the alien ship photoshopped into unlikely situations dominated feeds. One trending image showed the massive vessel being used as a surfboard by a cartoon cat with the caption, "Aliens, submit or die. Humans, nice ship, bro. Does it come in blue?" News channels covered the story, but it was quickly pushed down by updates on celebrity scandal, economic forecasts, and a developing hurricane in the Atlantic. By evening, most coverage had been relegated to brief mentions or human interest pieces about how people are reacting to the possible extraterrestrial contact. At MIT, a group of quantum physics researchers had already begun analyzing the transmission data. Professor Aiden Chen's team worked through the night, compiling their initial findings by morning. Their communication technology is impressive but inefficient, Professor Jean remarked, pointing to energy dispersal patterns on her screen. Our quantum entanglement communication research is actually more advanced in terms of efficiency. What about their propulsion system? Asked a graduate student. Dr. Samantha Rodriguez, the team's aerospace specialist, shook her head. Brute force approach. Massive energy expenditure for relatively limited maneuverability. They've obviously never had to worry about efficiency, probably rely on overwhelming power rather than innovation. So not as scary as they want us to think? The student pressed. Dr. Rodriguez shrugged. Scary, yes. Invincible? Definitely not. Their technology seems stagnant, advanced, but without the rapid iteration we see in our own technological development. The team agreed to continue their analysis, but didn't feel any immediate urgency. Several members left to teach their scheduled classes, while others headed home to get some sleep before returning to what they considered a fascinating but not particularly threatening research opportunity. Aboard the Eternal Dominion, confusion was mounting. Forlag paced the command deck, his armored tail lashing behind him in agitation. No official response? Nothing, he demanded. The communications officer checked the systems again. We've received thousands of individual transmissions, High Senator, but they appear to be civilian commentary. Many contain strange animated images of our ship with text overlaid. Our cultural interpretation units are struggling to determine if these constitute formal communication. What about their governing authority? Their military? There appears to be fragmentation in their power structures. Multiple nations, multiple militaries. Several have raised their alert levels, but none have mobilized beyond observation protocols. Forlag scales darkened with frustration. This is unprecedented. Show me examples of these responses. The main screen filled with a collection of memes, tweets, and TikTok videos reacting to the Council's threat. One video showed a young human dramatically reading the ultimatum while another human in the background continued playing a video game, completely uninterested. Is this mockery? Forlag asked, his voice low and dangerous. The cultural specialist, a tall Malorian with compound eyes that shifted nervously, cleared her throat. It appears to be their form of stress response, High Senator. Humor in the face of perceived threats. But there's something else concerning. They genuinely don't seem frightened. Impossible, Forlag snapped. No species has ever failed to respond with appropriate fear. Their primitive technology cannot hope to match our capabilities. Nevertheless, the specialist continued cautiously, initial analysis suggests they simply don't consider us a significant threat to their daily operations. Forlag turned to his military advisor. Prepare a demonstration of power, something limited but unmistakable. They must understand that the Council's ultimatum is not optional. The advisor bowed deeply. As you command, High Senator. 3 days later, several aging communication satellites in Earth orbit mysteriously failed, their systems completely fried by precisely targeted energy pulses. Simultaneously, a strange aurora appeared over the Sahara Desert, and a small, uninhabited crater on Mars was vaporized, leaving a perfectly smooth depression. At NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, technicians scrambled to reroute communications through backup systems. The process, already well established for dealing with solar flares and other natural phenomena that occasionally damage satellites, took less than 30 minutes. Satellites 13, 27, and 46 are down, reported a systems administrator during an emergency briefing. But redundancy protocols engaged automatically. We're currently at 98.7% normal communication capacity. The NASA director nodded. Estimated downtime for full restoration? Maybe 72 hours. We've already got the replacement satellites being prepared for launch. SpaceX and Blue Origin are both offering accelerated deployment schedules. In the Pentagon Situation Room, military leaders reviewed footage of the Martian demonstration. That's a significant energy weapon, General Martinez observed. The precision is impressive. But why target an empty crater? Asked Secretary of Defense Williams. If they wanted to demonstrate power, why not hit one of our bases? Admiral Chun, head of Space Force Operations, leaned forward. They're being careful. This is a test, gauging our response without triggering full military retaliation. Recommendations? Activate the Sentinel Shield prototype. It was designed for asteroid deflection, but the energy dispersal system should work against their weapons technology based on what we've observed. The secretary nodded. Do it quietly and increase surveillance on their vessel. I want to know if they so much as sneeze. Meanwhile, on social media, hashtags like #AlienFail and #CouncilFaceplant trended worldwide. One popular post read, "Dear Space Invaders, knocking out satellites invented before TikTok is like threatening to destroy our horse-drawn carriages. Try harder." Internet service providers barely noticed the disruption, switching to ground-based fiber networks and newer satellite systems automatically. Most users experienced no interruption at all. Those who did quickly found workarounds, treating it as a minor inconvenience rather than an existential threat. "Mom, the aliens broke Netflix," complained a teenager in suburban Australia. "Use the backup Wi-Fi," his mother replied without looking up from her tablet. "And tell them they'd better not interrupt my Zoom meeting tomorrow. I have a presentation." In corporate boardrooms, the alien presence was already being factored into business strategies. At a meeting of tech executives, the discussion was surprisingly pragmatic. If they're willing to share technology, we should be positioned to broker that exchange, said a Silicon Valley CEO. If not, we're looking at accelerated R&D in space-based industries. "What about the threat of planetary destruction?" asked a junior executive. The CEO shrugged. Their actions don't match their words. If they had the capacity and will to destroy Earth, why bother with satellite disruptions? It's like threatening to burn down a house and then breaking a garden gnome. Markets hate uncertainty, not empty threats. In research labs across the globe, scientists worked overtime analyzing the alien technology based on its energy signatures and observable capabilities. Far from being intimidated, they were energized by the challenge, sharing findings through secure channels and integrating insights from multiple disciplines. Aboard the Eternal Dominion, Forlag received the reports of Earth's response to their demonstration with increasing disbelief. "They've already restored communications?" he demanded. "And public sentiment remains unconcerned." His tactical officer, a veteran of 17 subjugation campaigns, appeared genuinely perplexed. "Hi, Senator. I've never seen anything like it. They've adapted to our disruption as if it were a minor technical glitch. Some of their military installations have activated unknown defensive systems, but there's been no official acknowledgement of our demonstration, no diplomatic outreach, no panic." "This is unacceptable," Forlag hissed. "The Council's authority cannot be ignored. Prepare the battle fleet. We must target one of their off-world installations. Something significant enough to demonstrate our resolve, but isolated enough to limit their immediate retaliation." "The mining facility on asteroid Vesta would be suitable," suggested the tactical officer. "Significant economic value, limited personnel, isolated from Earth defenses." Forlag nodded sharply. "Make it so. Dispatch Battle Group 3. I want that facility reduced to atoms. 7 Council warships detached from a main fleet and accelerated toward the asteroid belt, their engines flaring with ominous purpose. On board, Council warriors prepared for what they assumed would be a simple operation, a show of force against a primitive, doomed outpost. The Vesta Mining Corporation facility was the largest off-world industrial complex in the solar system, extracting rare metals from the asteroid's core. Over 800 personnel worked there, operating massive excavation equipment and processing facilities. When sensors detected the approaching alien vessels, Facility Director Diana Jackson immediately activated emergency protocols. All personnel to secure stations, she ordered calmly over the facility-wide communication system. This is not a drill. Activate Aegis protocol. Throughout the facility, workers moved with practiced efficiency, securing machinery and making their way to reinforced safe zones. Meanwhile, in a previously hidden hangar bay, automated defense systems powered up. As the Council warships approached, their sensors detected nothing unusual, just standard mining equipment and human life signs moving into what appeared to be rudimentary shelters. Primitive defenses, noted the lead ship's commander with satisfaction. This will be over quickly. The Council vessels moved into attack formation and charged their main weapons. The lead ship fired first, a brilliant beam of energy streaking toward the facility's main power core. What happened next would forever change the balance of power in the galaxy. Just before impact, a previously invisible energy field flickered into existence around the entire facility. The Council's weapon struck the shield and, instead of penetrating, was absorbed completely. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the shield pulsed, sending the energy back at the Council ships with twice the intensity, precisely targeting their weapon systems. Simultaneously, what had appeared to be ordinary mining drones suddenly accelerated with impossible speed, swarming the alien vessels. These were not mining tools, but highly advanced combat drones controlled by adaptive AI systems specifically designed to analyze and counter unknown threats. "Evasive action!" shouted the lead commander, but it was too late. The drones attached themselves to critical points on the Council ships, deploying quantum-based disruption fields that bypass conventional shields and disable propulsion and weapon systems. 3 of the Council ships found themselves completely immobilized within seconds. The remaining 4 attempted to regroup, charging secondary weapons. Before they could fire, a second wave of defenses activated. From the dark side of Vesta, 6 sleek vessels appeared, seemingly materializing from nowhere. These were Earth's frontline space defense craft, ships whose existence had been kept secret even from most of Earth's own military. Unlike the bulky, imposing Council warships, these human vessels were smaller, faster, and virtually impossible to target, employing quantum field technology that allowed them to exist partially out of phase with normal space-time. They moved with astonishing agility, firing weapons that didn't so much destroy as disassemble, targeting molecular bonds rather than physical structures. The battle, if it could even be called that, lasted less than 9 minutes. When it ended, all 7 Council warships were either disabled, captured, or reduced to their component elements. Human casualties, 0. Back on the Eternal Dominion, Forlag stared in horror at the sensor readings. The battle group's destruction had been transmitted in real time, providing irrefutable evidence of capabilities far beyond what the Council had believed possible from Earth. "Ow!" he whispered, his scales pale with shock. Their technology was supposed to be primitive. The tactical officer had no answer. "Hi, Senator. We're receiving a transmission from Earth. It's on all frequencies, directed specifically at this vessel." "Show me," Forlag ordered, his voice hollow. The screen displayed a human female in a simple black uniform with no insignia or rank markings. Her expression was not triumphant or angry, merely professional. "This message is for the entity known as the Galactic Council," she began. "Your unprovoked attack on our mining facility has been neutralized. Your vessels have been either disabled or repurposed. This action constitutes a clear act of war against humanity." She paused, letting the words sink in before continuing. "Until now, we have chosen not to engage with your ultimatum as it was deemed a non-critical intrusion into our system. This assessment has changed. You now have our attention. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the command deck in silence. Mobilize the main fleet, Forlag finally ordered, his voice quavering slightly. We must respond with overwhelming force. His military advisor stepped forward hesitantly. High Senator, with respect, we should reconsider. This species has technology that can neutralize our most advanced weapons. We need to analyze. Are you suggesting the Council retreat? Forlag cut him off, fury replacing fear. 12,000 cycles of dominance will not end on my watch. Prepare for full-scale invasion. I will lead personally. As the Eternal Dominion prepared for war, Earth's response was entering its second phase. With the Council now classified as a legitimate threat, humanity's full technological capabilities were unleashed, not just in military response, but in a multifaceted campaign of intelligence gathering, psychological warfare, and strategic intervention. Quantum-entangled spy probes, invisible to conventional detection methods, were deployed throughout the Council fleet, transmitting detailed information about their technology, communication systems, and internal politics. AI systems analyzed the data, identifying weaknesses and opportunities. Their encryption is remarkably obsolete, noted Dr. Aisha Karim, lead quantum cryptographer at the Global Defense Initiative. It's as if they've never faced a serious challenge to their security protocols. Meanwhile, specialized communication teams began broadcasting targeted messages to individual worlds within the Council's domain. Rather than threats, these messages contained evidence of corruption within the Council. Leadership, offerings of technological and economic partnerships more beneficial than the Council's exploitative tribute system, and demonstrations of Earth's cultural and scientific achievements. We're not trying to conquer them, explained Dr. Marcus Elliott, Earth's newly appointed extraterrestrial diplomacy director. We're offering an alternative. Freedom, fair exchange, mutual growth. It's more disruptive to their power structure than any weapon could be. These broadcasts were accompanied by precise cyber attacks on the Council's economic infrastructure, not to destroy, but to create just enough disruption to undermine confidence in the leadership. Tribute shipments mysteriously disappeared or arrived at the wrong destinations. Banking and resource allocation systems developed glitches that exposed how Council elites skimmed resources meant for member worlds. Within weeks, reports began filtering back to Forlag of unrest throughout the Council Dominion. Minor member species were withholding tribute. Several mid-tier worlds had openly declared their intention to negotiate independently with Earth. Even among the founding species, questions were being raised about Forlag's competence and the wisdom of antagonizing this clearly advanced human civilization. In the Council's inner chambers, a faction led by Sub-Senator Krellax was openly advocating for immediate peace negotiations. The humans have not expanded beyond their system despite clearly having the capability, Krellax argued. They've made no territorial demands. Their only aggressive action was in direct response to our attack. This suggests they have no imperial ambitions. They simply want to be left alone or engaged with as equals. Forlag dismissed these concerns, becoming increasingly isolated and paranoid. This is exactly what they want, he insisted. Division, doubt, weakness. The Council has never negotiated from a position of equality, and we never will. In a desperate move to reassert control, Forlag ordered the assembly of the largest invasion force in Council history. Every available warship was recalled from across the galaxy. Tributary worlds were forced to provide additional vessels and troops. The resulting armada was genuinely impressive. Over 3,000 ships of varying sizes, converging on Earth's solar system in a display of overwhelming might. As the massive fleet approached Earth, humanity's response was calm, coordinated, and utterly devastating. There was no desperate space battle, no heroic last stand, no moment of uncertainty. Instead, as the Council fleet entered the outer solar system, they encountered what appeared to be a simple probe broadcasting on open frequencies. The message was brief. This is your only warning. Further advance will be considered an act of war requiring definitive response. Withdraw, and we can discuss terms. Forlag, personally commanding the lead dreadnought, laughed at the message. Full advance, he ordered. Prepare all weapons. The armada moved forward, entering the orbit of Neptune. And then, in an instant that would be studied for generations to come, everything changed. A previously undetectable network of devices positioned throughout the solar system activated simultaneously. These were not conventional weapons, but something far more advanced. Technologies based on manipulating the fundamental forces of reality itself. Some vessels simply stopped, their propulsion and energy systems nullified by fields that selectively altered physical constants within defined spaces. Others found themselves instantaneously relocated to empty regions of space thousands of light years away. Still others remained in place, but phased partially out of normal space-time, their crews unharmed but completely unable to interact with the normal universe. The flagship, carrying Forlag and the Council High Command, experienced yet another fate. As alarms blared and systems failed, a strange calm descended over the bridge. Every screen displayed the same message. Your biological and technological information has been scanned and archived. Your vessel is now under external logical control. Please stand by for transition. Before Forlag could respond, he felt a strange sensation, as if his consciousness was being gently but irresistibly examined by something vast and incomprehensible. In that moment, he understood with perfect clarity that everything the Council believed about its place in the universe had been wrong. They were not the apex civilization. They were merely the loudest in a quiet neighborhood. Until now. The sensation passed, and Forlag found himself and his command staff standing in what appeared to be a simple white room with a single human figure waiting patiently. "Welcome to Earth," the human said. "I'm authorized to discuss the terms of the Galactic Council surrender and the transition to a new galactic order." Across the thousands of remaining Council ships, similar scenes played out. Some received transmission explaining that their vessels were now under remote control and would be returned to their homeworlds once peace terms were established. Others found non-human representatives from their own species or allied races, explaining that the Council's era of dominance had ended. Back on Earth, in a secure facility beneath the Gobi Desert, the Global Defense Council received confirmation of the operation's success. Phase 3 complete, reported General Maya Sukarno. The Council fleet has been neutralized without casualties. 97% of vessels are intact and can be returned. Diplomatic contact has been established with key leadership. United Earth President Arjun Mehta nodded solemnly. And the information warfare campaign? Extremely effective, Mr. President. Based on communications we've intercepted, at least 60% of Council member worlds were already in various stages of reconsideration or outright rebellion before today's demonstration. With the fleet neutralized, we expect that number to rise to nearly 100% within days. Very well, the President said. Let's proceed with the final phase. In meeting rooms across the former Council space, human representatives, along with allied species who had secretly contacted Earth earlier, presented the terms of the new galactic reality. The Galactic Council would be dissolved. In its place, member worlds could choose to join a new galactic association based on principles of sovereignty, fair trade, and mutual defense. All tribute systems would end immediately, replaced by equitable trade agreements. Earth had no territorial ambitions beyond its solar system, but would maintain an open-door policy for cultural, scientific, and economic exchange. Any aggressive actions similar to the Council's attempted invasion would be met with the same response. Immediate, overwhelming, but non-lethal interdiction. Most crucially, Earth representatives made it clear that humanity had no interest in replacing the Council as galactic overlords. They simply wanted to pursue their own development while engaging with other species as equals. "We find conquest boring," explained one human diplomat to a gathering of former Council subjugates. "We have too many of our own projects to worry about running an empire." Forlag, stripped of his rank and authority, was eventually returned to his homeworld, where he lived out his days in obscurity, occasionally giving interviews to historians about the species that didn't care about the Council's threats. In the decades that followed, the galaxy entered an unprecedented era of innovation and exchange. Many former Council worlds discovered that freedom from tribute allowed them to flourish. Cultural and scientific cross-pollination led to advancements that benefited all species. Earth continued much as it had before, fractious, creative, chaotic, and oddly disinterested in galactic politics, except where it directly affected human interests. Most humans returned to their daily lives, treating the Council incident as an interesting but ultimately minor footnote in their civilization's ongoing story. The new conventional wisdom among spacefaring species became simple. Trade with humans, learn from humans, befriend humans if possible, but never, ever threaten humans. They simply don't have time for it. And on distant worlds, parents would tell their children a cautionary tale about the mighty Council that threatened a species too busy with their own affairs to be properly frightened, and how that simple mistake ended 12,000 cycles of galactic dominance.